you as an entrepreneur, as a high performer, you understand taking information and implementing it as quickly as possible. That is a strong suit of yours. That's why you're successful. That's why you're in this occupation, is because you can do that, is you can implement and you can take action very quickly. But when it comes to advice, it has to be filtered.
Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and today we are going to be discussing the thing you need to ask yourself when receiving advice from others.
There is information overload. So we're going to get into it, especially this time of year as insurance agents, because this is when if you qualified for trips, this is when the trips are happening, the networking events, the community events, like this is when we're getting out and getting together. And this is where you're hearing top performers and leaders sharing their best practices and advice. And this is the question that we wish that we would have asked at the beginning of our careers, and the question that we ask now when we take advice from anyone that we view as a top performer or successful. The question that we wish we would have asked when somebody offers up information. There's two big questions there. The first one is, what are your goals for your business? And I think it's important to start with the goals for their business and also the goals for your life. Because when it comes to business and you're taking advice from someone, you might be on two different playing fields and have two different desires and goals of what you want to build your business to look like.
Yep, 100%. I mean, and here's the thing is, it's just not asking what are your goals, because you can keep that a pretty high level conversation.
Oh, that's true.
I want to be the best. I want to hit the top of the company. I want to max out my bonuses.
Apps. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what is the actual long-term goal of your business? Like, do you want to work day in and day out the rest of your life? Do you want to be working 15 hours a day on your phone, texting your team, keeping in touch? Do you want to travel 3 months a year? Like, what are your actual business goals? And then how does your business support your lifestyle goals? That's even more important to actually dig in. Don't just take the high level. I want to be the best. I want to max out my bonus. I want to be number one in this category. Oh, great. That's cool. But what are your actual goals?
So I like that you say that, because originally I was thinking, okay, it's business goal, but let's change the word. Instead of goal, what's the vision that you have for your business, and what's the vision that you have for your life? I think that's the more accurate question.
And I think it's even more important to ask those questions. Great. Okay. So you have these big business goals and you're hitting all these trips and accolades and awards. What does your life look like?
Yeah.
How much are you working? Are you traveling at all? Like, do you take days off? Like, what does it look like?
What's the cost?
Yeah. What's the cost? Because there's a cost to everything.
Yeah. Time, money, stress, there's always an energy exchange. So when you're talking about your vision for your business, I think this is incredibly fascinating, because even in the insurance space, there are so many different routes that you can go. Because we've talked to agency owners that their whole goal was to build, to scale, and then to sell it. There are other agency owners who want multiple agencies. There are some that were like us that wanted to be as profitable as quick as possible so they could reinvest in other things, other businesses, and more experiences. So I think that is a huge question, and we changed it from what's your business goals to what is the vision that you have for your business.
And you just brought up something else. We all have different goals, but also when receiving advice from individuals, and you have to filter advice. Okay. Look, all ideas and all advice can be great. It may not just be great for you. And that's why we're encouraging to ask more questions. Another question that I always asked, and not everyone was always okay talking about it, was, great, I'm going to get your ideas. I'm going to get your advice. I want to know what your life looks like. I want to know what your business goals looks like. By the way, how much money are you making? Not how much money are you grossing. How much money are you actually bringing home?
Yeah.
Because we have talked to multiple, you could be a smaller agency grossing 5 or 6 or 700,000 a year, but you're bringing home 50% of that. All right. So you're bringing home 253, 400 a year. And we've talked to multiple business owners grossing 7 figures, million, million and a half, 2 million, and bringing home less than $250,000 a year.
Yeah. Or in debt.
Or in debt. So that's where it goes back to what are your goals, not only business wise, but lifestyle wise. And does the advice you're receiving match or align with what you want out of your business and life?
So I'm curious to that because I've never asked that question. And that's something that you always ask. How is that received when you ask that to somebody?
Typically, the only people that don't like talking about it are the people that don't make very much money. I mean, the production looks good, minus their lap scan. The production looks good. They're high on reports. Their grossing is awesome. But yeah, let's not talk about how much money we're actually bringing home. Again, though, we talked to an owner here recently that just sold his business for like $4 million, but he was also, $2 million in debt. And so he never brought home any money.
Yeah.
He brought home like less than 50 grand a year, but the payout at the end was awesome. And so again, everyone's business model goals are different. And so that's why it's really, really important with the model we had in the company we represented. We didn't own the book of business, so we couldn't sell it. So there's no way I would ever go into debt into a business that I can't actually sell. So we wanted to be as profitable as possible from day one, which we were. We made 6 figures first year and every year after that, multiple 6 figures. How can we then take this money and invest it into other assets that set us up for success in the future to the life we wanted?
Yeah. I think it's important too, and you briefly touched on this topic of the cost and the life goals. Because it's one thing, and we've learned this throughout the years, it's one thing to make a ton of money and to have multiple businesses and to have all of these employees, but there is a cost to that. We actually had a conversation with an agent who has multiple businesses and multiple agencies.
Yeah, you're talking about here recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole conversation, this agent, so it was a 45-minute conversation, and I shit you not, every time.
Did you just say I shit you not?
Yes, every time me and you, like every time we would talk or ask a question, because it was a virtual call, you could see them physically. Boom, eyes down, hands on phone, checking messages, checking emails, like they were attached to this phone. They were attached to their email. And it even got brought up in conversation like, hey, what does your day-to-day look like? And they are glued to their phone all the time. They have a huge team and multiple businesses, multiple agencies. That's great. And that's great for that individual. And they seem happy. We didn't really get into the conversation because I got a little upset because I was like, this is insane that you're on your phone while we're having a conversation. But it's like, and I wasn't upset. I was just like, I was more confused. Like, wow.
Well, I think it just triggered for us that that's not what we want our life to look like. So I don't think you were upset. I think it was more like
upset was the wrong word.
Like, oh, this is not something that I aspire to have. And I think that that's a question that you really have to ask yourself when you're taking advice from somebody is look at their life. Like, do they have the lifestyle that you want? Do they have similar responsibilities and roles? Like for me, it's more difficult, and it's something that I'm having to work through, is taking advice from only men. Like I need to make sure that there are women that I am taking advice from as well that are in a similar situation, because if you don't understand where I'm coming from, it's harder for me to put that advice into practice. Now I take it from both sides. But I have to filter that too. Like, do they understand what I am going through? Like my responsibilities as well. So I think that you have to weigh that as well. Like, what does their lifestyle look? What is the role? Like that they are playing, and does that fit? Is that something that you aspire to?
Well, and I think another thing I wish that we would have done earlier in our career was defining what success really was to us.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, yes, we knew we wanted to be as profitable as possible to invest in other businesses. We knew that we wanted freedom. We knew that we wanted to be able to travel. But what did success actually look like? Not what we were told success was or success looks like. But what would success actually look like to us? Just not short term, but also long term. Yeah, recognition is great. Sales organizations and insurance companies are amazing at getting, in my opinion, folks to operate out of their ego and do whatever it takes to get on top. That's what they preach all day long. Like, get on top, get on top, get on top. Whatever it takes, you need to be on top of this report. You got to do this, this, and this. Okay. And I'm all for that. I believe that you can accomplish the level of success you want to accomplish depending on what your success is determined by. And that's what I'm asking you to really consider and think about right now is what does success look like to you? Just not short term, but long term within your business. And even more importantly, because sometimes we get this reversed, and this is something we've had to work through. Sometimes we as business owners and entrepreneurs think that the business is what's going to really, if we are successful in business, then we'll be successful in life. That's not the case. You need to determine what your goal, like true success looks like in your life, your relationships, your identity, who you are, the travel, whatever your life looks like. Figure out your life first, and then figure out how the business supports that life.
Yeah. And filter all advice through that lens.
Which is something that
we would just, and you relate, you as an entrepreneur, as a high performer, you understand taking information and implementing it as quickly as possible. That is a strong suit of yours. That's why you're successful. That's why you're in this occupation, is because you can do that, is you can implement and you can take action very quickly. But when it comes to advice, it has to be filtered, because if not, what happens is you take all of these ideas, you come from a conference or a networking event or a trip that you earn, and you try to implement everything and your team gets confused.
Don't do that.
And it's too many things to implement at once. So you unavoidably can't do it. And so they fall off after a few weeks. So then as a leader,
you look flaky.
Yeah. So my suggestion, I don't know what your suggestion is 2 to 3 ideas max. And they have to be filtered. Take 2 to 3 really great ideas that align with your life and your business and implement them and try them out for at least 3 months. And then see where you're at. And you have to keep in mind your big vision. Like, it's an infinite game. You're trying to stay in the business game. So it's not something it's not a silver bullet. There is no silver bullet. Like, we all know that, what do you say? Consistency is greater than intensity. Intensity can get you results really quickly, but typically intensity is going to burn out. It's like motivation. Motivation doesn't last. Daily habits do. It's the same thing with consistency. Figure out consistent processes that get you the results you want long term. What's going to help you again? I know we've said this multiple times, but what are consistent ideas, practices, processes that you can implement that help you achieve the life goals you want and business goals you want and allow you to live, the life you want? Yeah. Which is really important, because that's what we're navigating always, especially right now, is what do we want our life to look like? Yeah.
And this is even team, and I may have already said this, I don't know. We're just having a conversation here. I'm getting fired up, but taking advice from someone that may have a team that's double your size or triple your size or quadruple your current size. Okay, so I would ask the question of, what does managing a team look like at that size? What does the stress that comes from having a team that size look like? Mm-hmm. Like, it's really important questions that I didn't ask. I was always focused on, well, dang, you're hitting these numbers. Like, how are you doing that?
Yeah. Well, and I think as an insurance agent, you also have to look at your market, where you're at, because we're not all the same. Every market is very different. Your access to top talent is different in your markets. Your premiums are different in markets. So you also have to take that into consideration. Does this fit my market and my business model? Because if you want top talent and you're in an area that doesn't have access to top talent like others do, you have to look at, am I willing to go remote? Am I that's also things that you have to consider. So does it apply to my life? Does it apply to my business? And will this fit in my market? I think is the filter of all ideas. And I know you're excited. You get home from a trip and you're riding this high. And I love that. And insurance companies do a fantastic job of keeping that spark, because it's a tough industry. I mean, you deliver bad news every single day. So they do a great job of really feeding and keeping you motivated. But you have a responsibility to then take all of that and filter it and keep what works and let go of the things that won't.
Yeah. And I would also, I'm going to add this in, and I think it's really important, is you don't have to just take advice from people that are in your industry doing what you do. There's plenty of other entrepreneurs and business owners, okay, that are living the life. They're accomplishing the things you want to accomplish. Reach out to those individuals.
Yeah. I'm somebody that always wants to hear the struggle too. And when I interview, you can hear it on the podcast. I always want to talk about, what did you have to overcome to get what you had? What was the cost? What was the sacrifice? What was the price that you had to pay? Because I want to hear those moments. I want to hear that struggle, because when I need advice or help is usually not when I'm sitting on top of the mountain and things are going well. It's usually when I'm in the valley.
You're in Death Valley.
I'm in Death Valley and I'm going, am I alone? Is anyone else going through this? How do I get out of this? So I need to know. Actually, I was talking about this with you this morning. I need to know that you've had to overcome something to have success, because I am constantly put in the valley and I want to know how you navigated that. That's the biggest thing, piece of advice that I wish I would have started sooner, is really diving a little bit deeper and asking more questions.
Yep.
So I think that's the whole theme of this episode today, is before you go out on all of these trips, sit down and really determine, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want it to feel like? What do you want your quality of relationships? What do you want the experiences? How much money? What does this look like? And then how does your business fit into that? And get really clear about that, and be honest about what your market looks like, and then take advice and filter it through all of that, and then give it time to marinate, to implement, get feedback from your team, really decide, is this a fit? And then pick the next thing without, implementing too quickly, and just keep stacking those things on top of each other.
Yep. I love it.
That's it. That's what I got for you today.
You hear that? That is the buzz, baby. We just got buzz on the buzz today. So we appreciate you, as always.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. This is great. So as always, time is the most important asset that we all have. We appreciate you spending time with us today. If you have any questions, if you want to reach out, we'd love to hear from you. We talk to members of the Buzz community on a weekly basis. Shoot us a text, 816-727-7610. Other than that, thank you so much. Make it a great day.